Hi guys, welcome back to the shop. Today we're going to get back on the F7 Kawasaki. Going to be doing a bore on it. This cylinder is not the one that came on it. I found a standard that needs to be bored to first over, which is 0.5 millimeter. And I was on a quest for, I don't know, it seems like maybe almost 2 years to get piston. And I was able to finally get a piston for a 0.5 millimeter and a millimeter. So at some point, I'll go ahead and bore the one that I took off of it that's at a 0.5 now and bore it to a millimeter. I'll probably be selling that one, but I want to make sure this one here is in good shape and running before I do that. I noticed this morning, this is March 29th, that I got a hit for another piston this morning. So if somebody's out there looking for one, they need to get on eBay and get it, because those things usually don't stay on there very long. Good price too. I think it was 75 bucks. So, I mean, it's not a good price compared to Yamaha pistons at, you know, 20 bucks a piece, but these Kawasaki parts are just really difficult to find, and when you do find them, they're expensive. So if you've got one, you're just going to have to get used to paying the piper for them. That's just the way it is. It's kind of like me when I was looking for parts for a Ford Boss 302. They only made so many of them, and that being they're pretty rare, and what they call Boss specific parts, they're even rarer. It cost a lot of money. So anyway, enough of that. But this cylinder appears to be in pretty good shape. Not a lot of taper or anything like that. Another problem that I ran into, I noticed that a 175 Yamaha and a 175 Kawasaki, the bore size is quite a bit different. And I got to looking at it and I thought, well, I better go check my honing mandrels and see if I've got something, because it's kind of a, you know, it's a lot smaller. So it's a long stroke and a smaller bore compared to a Yamaha and the Suzuki for that matter. But I went down there and looked, and I do not have a mandrel that will hone that thing. I've got up to 2.3, 2.3 inches, yes. And then I start again at 2.5 inches. So I've got this 24 inch or 2.4 inch area that I'm lacking as far as being able to hone those. I've got a portable hone. You know, it's a Sun 2. I can go and use that, but I just much prefer the accuracy I get from the horizontal hone that I've got. So I was able to find one of those, and there again, almost anything for a Sun, they're expensive. And the old mandrels you can't find anymore, what they call the SL. The replacements are the P28, and they've got the removable shoes and a different honing stone. They do work with a larger area, whereas the SLs, I think they only work on about a 1/2 inch. And these look like they'll go maybe 3/4 of an inch or something like that. I may not be right on that. But anyhow, I found one, paid dearly for it, should be here in a couple of days. And again, it's a used one. A new one is terrible, you know, almost $600, and then you got to buy stones and shoes and all that stuff. So it's that kind of equipment is just really expensive. Anyhow, I've got the cylinder set up down here, and I've got it already zeroed in about as close as I can get it, and we'll just take a look at that real quick and then get ready to do the bore. So let's get down here and take a look at it on the jet milling machine. Okay, I've got it set up just like I always do, and again I used a coaxial indicator to get it close, and then set up my little test indicator, and each increment on here is a half thousandths, and right now we're sitting here at the front, and we go around to the side, and we're within about a quarter of a thousandths, and go to the back side, and we're right on zero, and over to the other side, and we're at a half thousandths. So that's where we're at. That seems to be just about as good as I can get it. So I'm going to go with it, and let's see here. Yeah, I think everything else is good to go. So we'll just go ahead and get the boring head put in. I just put a new insert on it, and then we'll get going on this. Okay, here's the new piston, and like I say, it's a 0.5. It's the last part of the part number is 048, and you know it'll set up there but not go in. So we want it to. My goal, as it always is when I bore these things, is to get really, if I can get to the bottom of the pinhole, that's just right. That leaves me about 3 or 4 thousandths to take out, and that's done pretty quickly, and I just don't have to spend a lot of time doing it like that. So first thing we'll do here is go ahead and get our boring head installed. Okay, let's go. I don't think this is going to make much of a cut until lower. You can see it sweeping the cylinder, but it's not really cutting anything yet. At first you just want to make a nice trip through to see where you're at, and that's what I'm doing right now. I'll bring you back as soon as we start cutting. We just started cutting, so it's actually, I guess, just below the intake and exhaust port. So it's down at the very bottom in the skirt area of the cylinder. And that's kind of what I thought was going to happen. There's just very little wear down there, and then all your wear is up at the top. So as soon as we get through, then we'll take a peek at what is cutting down there. One thing you can kind of do is look at the cuttings here at the bottom on the table, and it looks pretty good, but it looks a little heavier on this side over here and toward the back. So that makes sense, I guess, where everything is turning, changing directions and heading back up. So that's your least worn area down there, so that's where it's cutting first. Okay, let's take a look at the first trip through. I think you can see there at the bottom on the skirt of the cylinder, That's where it first started hitting. And you really can't see anything else hitting right now. I apologize, it's tight in here. Okay. This long trail here is just where I took the quill down testing it. So that'll all cut out. So I'm going to add another 2 thousandths and we're going to go again. So I've added my 2. Should get a little more cut now. All right, here we go. Yeah, starting at the top now. Looks like it's towards the front over here. Let it get down a little further. So it cut at the back. The first trip through, that's where it was the least worn. And now it's stopping again, so it's getting where the rings come to the top of the piston, or the cylinder rather. Cutting quite a bit more right now. This is actually the 4th time through, I think. 3rd time through. And it's starting to cut towards the top and all the way down now. I don't know where yet, but it'll all straighten out. They always do. This one has got a different wear pattern than I'm used to because of the rotary valve and where the intake port is. So it's just it seems like you've got a lot more unworn area at the bottom, where on the piston port and reed valve ones, you're of course all the way down, you're not getting the wear, but you're getting it lower. So we'll take a peek at it here after this trip through. Looking up the exhaust port, you can see there it's cutting pretty steady. It's just getting to the top of the exhaust port, or intake port rather, I'm sorry. We're into the exhaust, we're about halfway through it, just to the top of the intake. And now we're going more on the ports, so you're hearing more of an interrupted cut. Okay, at this point this is 4 trips and about 8 or 9 thousandths. You can see around the exhaust port, there's still nothing really cutting there. But it's cutting on the sides. Actually, it's pretty pretty much uniform all the way around, except around the exhaust port at this time, and at the front skirt. You know, pretty much the front side. The exhaust side is yet to cut, but it's going to clean up, no problem at all. We're going to 0.5 millimeter, which is about 20 thousandths, and we're already cut into it 8 or 9, so that should be good. Let me put that under there. Maybe you can see it a little better. Seems like this one doesn't get as bad right up here where the piston comes up at the top. The wear is more, well, it is, because that's the last place to cut, but it's not as much as normally that I see on a two-stroke. All right, let's wrap up another one. And dial in a couple more here. All right, here we go. Like it might just about clean up at the top, pretty close. I haven't done a lot of these rotary valve engines, but it seems like the wear pattern is not as extravagant, should we say. Could be that the cylinders are just a little harder. I'm not really noticing any difference in how it's cutting. Yeah, it's going to get most of this at the top this time around, and what it doesn't get, it'll get the next time. The automatic shut off is set right here, so you'll see it snap by itself when we get to the end. And I'm just going to kind of keep the handle from popping back up. Sometimes the spring allows it to come up. So watch right here. We're through the cylinder now. Okay. I think you can see it here now. Just a little around the exhaust port and all the way to the bottom from there. That's where your wash is. So another time or two through and we're at 3, 4, 5, 6, about 12 thousandths right now. It for sure needed board, but it's a more interesting wear pattern than what I'm used to. It's just, you know, every cylinder, different material, the way they're inducted, everything's, you know, it's different. It just is different. Just leaving the ports again. Okay, on this piston, Kawasaki wants you to measure it at 5 millimeter from the bottom, which is right where I've got my little blue mark here. It's a little tighter with the bottom than most of them seem to be, and that's where we just go ahead and measure it up there. Okay, we got 2.439 and 3/10,000ths. So I'll be checking it this trip through with my snap gauge. Yeah, usually the Yamaha and the Suzuki, they're further up, like about 3/4 of an inch, something like that. And Of course, if you're doing Wiseco pistons or that sort of thing, you know, the forged pistons, you've got to go by the widest part, which is right down here at the very bottom. And something, you know, I always look because, you know, you've got so much taper in your piston. So we're at 2.430, just below the ringland. And if we go all the way to the top, we're at 2.440. So we got 10 thousandths there. That's about normal. Yeah, it's getting pretty close to getting all that cleaned up. I am just going to drop it down and we'll take a peek at it. Piston might go in there a little bit, but it's nowhere close. We've probably got another, by the time you get your clearance and everything in, probably another 7 or 8 thousandths. We'll just kind of take that, soften that burr up on the top there. Yeah, we're into the past the ringlands. So we're coming right along. It's about normal. I'll just go ahead and take a measurement here while we're here. Okay, I wanted to measure it 2 or 3 times just to make sure, and I'm consistent every time, right at 2.429. So actually we've got about 10 thousandths to go. So that's looking okay. So it still has a little bit to clean up on the exhaust side. Since I've got it down, let me go ahead and show you. Okay, you can see it there from just above the exhaust port down to the bottom of the skirt of the cylinder there. That's all that's left to clean up, and we're not going to have any problem doing it. But that's just kind of normal. It just is. Okay, you can see just a little below the exhaust port. That's all it's lacking. It goes all the way down. So we've just got that little bit, and we've still probably got 6 thousandths to go. So we will definitely make it, and everything else is looking just hunky-dory. And we've still got quite a ways to go. So let me get set up to go another trip. You can see the bit coming out of the right side there. Right in here. Okay, you can see just a little bit at the bottom of the port here. So it'll clean up this trip through. And we're at 4 thousandths. Yeah, 4 thousandths before we'll be the same size as the piston. So I'll take probably 2 more cuts and then we'll hone the rest. It's pretty bright. Let's see if I can tone that down a little bit. I think that's better, isn't it? See, we're cleaned up everywhere. Okay. Okay, let's soften that edge up a little bit. Oh yeah, perfect. That's what I like. I like that. Let's see where we're at with it. Okay. 2.438. And the piston was 2.439. So we're 1/1000ths away from the size of the piston, and Kawasaki is calling for 2.5 thousandths for our clearance, and I'll probably do a little less than that. You know, more like 2 maybe. Just, I'm easy. I know how to break them in so they'll last. Yeah, that's where we're at. 2.438. So that's good, and we're all clean. And let me get this thing out of here. Just a little look, see what came out of it. Okay. So I'm picking up my piston. I got 2.4395. If I get down to the nitty gritty, I gotta get that 5 millimeter above. Right there. Yep. 2.4395. So I went ahead and plugged that into my dial bore gauge. Let's see, can you see that? Okay, so I'm a little over 1/1000th away from the same size as the piston. That's denoted by being on this side, on the minus side. And let me flip it over here. And the same. Okay, so we're going to need, well, they're saying 2.5 thousandths. So if you look at it, we got 1/1000th and a half before we're the same size. 0 will be the same size as the piston. And then we'll want 2.5 according to Kawasaki on the plus side here. We'll give our piston to cylinder clearance. And I'm going to go a little less than that. I'll probably split the difference between 2 and 2.5. So I'm happy with that. Now I just got to get my honing adapter, my mandrel, and we'll be good to go. But it's all clear, cleaned up everywhere. I did notice that there's it's on the intake side, I believe. Well, there was a little thing sticking down there. Yeah, there still is. I don't know if you can see that or not. Just right about here, just on the top edge of the intake port. I think it just needs to be chamfered there. I believe that the meat kind of went down in there. They didn't clear it, I guess what I'm trying to say, when they made it. So when we go in there, we'll chamfer that out of there, that little piece right in the middle there. And of course, chamfer all the ports. And of course, I got the Kawasaki manual here, and under the F7 piston clearance, 2.5 or 0.64 millimeter. Let me verify that 0.64 millimeter. Yep, 2.5 thousandths. So you always want to check that one, because a lot of times they get the thousandth side wrong when they put it in there. I don't know about Kawasaki. I haven't had that much dealings with them. I always check. Yamaha's pretty bad. They don't get the conversion right a lot of times, so you just really want to check on them. Okay, guys, there you have it. Boring the F7 Kawasaki. I'm almost certain I got the rings sitting here in front of me, if they're the right ones, and I've got the pin, the gasket, the bearing, the clips, I think. So I should be able to go ahead and finish up the engine, get the top end on it here pretty soon. I'll go ahead and verify, make sure I've got all that stuff, and at least we can get the engine built up, and it's off of my bench, and when the weather straightens up and I can get the Kawasaki in here, then we'll be able to go ahead and get that in the frame and kind of proceed from there. But as of right now, I'm just on hold, probably till Monday or Tuesday. Excuse me, for the mandrel for the sun and honing machine to come in from Kansas. And once it comes in, then I'll play around a little bit with it. I haven't ever used one of the new P28s, so I don't think there's any big deal to it. It's just it's got a different set of stones, and it's got the little shoes on it so that you could replace those as they wear out. The old SL mandrels, they were what they called non-lifetime mandrels. The wear on the bottom, actually, it wears there. There's no way to repair it. So, but with motorcycle cylinders, you're just not going to wear them out. It would take a long time. So I'm not worried about any problems with the ones that I've got. They're all in good shape. But it's nice to have the replaceable shoes. But man, the price difference, I don't like that. But we don't like anything when the price goes up, do we? So hey, thanks for going along on the ride, and we'll see you next video.